These tragedies just don't have to happen, and tonight we're going to tell you how to prevent them.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Loss of life in Smithfield has the fire community back chatting about CO detectors, and it seems so simple. And in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. So there are some things you need to be thinking about, and we're going to remind you about keeping the family safe that way tonight with a couple of standouts from the fire community. Welcome aboard. It is great to have you in on this Thursday evening. Thanks so much for tuning in to My State of Mind. Let's go over to the rundown and see what's happening. This is a really interesting situation going on across America right now. Headlines like this, the Republicans are thinking, some of our own medicine. Here's the latest from CBS.
Agree with Mr. Trump that the press is the enemy of the American people, yes or no?
No.
Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton fielded a lot of uncomfortable questions about his party's leader last night. This one was the most painful.
If you call yourself a Christian man, are you making the right decisions for these kids while you are supporting the policies of a man who wants to grab women by the
It would seem that you've uncovered that we have a lot of people here who are not supportive of Donald Trump.
At hostile town halls from coast to coast, Republicans have decided some presidential behavior isn't worth defending.
He makes delusional statements.
I think that was a fine last question, and I intend to answer it to the best of my ability.
Mr. Trump's relationship with Russia has become a flashpoint.
We need to make sure that our president is not a puppet of Vladimir.
As has his refusal to release his tax returns.
He's the president. He's not a private individual.
In Louisiana, Senator Bill Cassidy tried to talk about Obamacare.
Now, sir, if you yell,
but he was drowned out and told us later the anti-Trump fervor is preventing productive discourse.
When I point out Trump's goals, all they can say is that he is lying. Well, if you just decided that you're not going to believe him, then we really can't go forward.
The White House said yesterday that many of these scenes are being manufactured by professional protesters. Many GOP lawmakers disagree. They say they may not share the same views as the protesters, but that they are real constituents with real concerns.
You know, this is just bound to happen. First of all, the guy leaning over the balcony using the P word is an idiot, right? And so he's there to make a scene in addition to make his point, but his point is lost by the circus atmosphere of that. And so the White House disposition here that this is all part of a synergized, organized disruption is partially true and ridiculous to say, because the confrontational disposition of this administration only brings conflict, only brings even more vocal opposition. The temperature rises. The Trump administration doesn't know how to let the air out of the balloon, the steam out of the engine. And so this is going to continue. Organized disagreement over primary issues is a healthy thing. Organized disruption is not. But when the Trump administration continues to point to organized disruption and poo-poo the organized disagreement, we get nowhere. Welcome to the Trump era. Stay tuned. Meanwhile, CPAC invites Donald Trump in for a little bit more conservative conversation. Those folks are an interesting group. They make me look like a lefty liberal. A lot of you say that I am these days because I'm not a Donald Trump guy, but I read my email. It's not true. Case of neglect. This is just god-awful. Front page headline here. And the idea that this headline is written this way worries me. Here's just a short description of what the parents are looking at here.
At the time, a cause of death is unknown. Concerns as to the suitability of the parents.
You know, the suitability of the parents is a real important conversation here. So a 7-month little one has a lost life here because of something that was going on in this house. Now, read the story for the details, follow it if you will, but the knee-jerk headlines and the reaction to the story that there were family members who reportedly contacted DCYF about the I don't know, irresponsible parenting that reportedly was apparent and ongoing. The idea that DCYF is kind of like responsible for this, I think, is dangerous. You know, state agencies, no matter how well they're running, can't cover everything. And if you're aware that two people shouldn't be parenting a little one, just relying on the state for a solution makes you seemingly, in my mind, maybe not legally, but morally, as liable as the agency that you're suggesting is. It's a tragedy when everybody kind of looks and watches the ball bounce, or in this particular case, the baby lose its life. You know, Hillary says it takes a village, but you know, families are the village. All right, this is good news. Fly away. Headline. Wow. Governor Raimondo is excited, and I can imagine why.
It's affordable. There's also millions of people in Ireland and Scotland who I hope come here. You know, people coming from there to our beaches, to our restaurants, to our hotels. I think it's going to be a big boon to the economy. Yeah, no doubt. Now, my wife's a travel agent, so I've been asking her this question. How can this airline, Norwegian, afford to do this? The introductory fare to Ireland and Scotland, $69, with a regular $99. I mean, the ancillary charges, we're going to have to look into this, you know, the baggage and all that kind of stuff, unless we're all sitting in there like sardines. But there's two new planes at 189 passenger capacity. Reportedly, they're 737s. Now, in quick glance, 737s are not the widest planes in the world, and it is a 7-8 hour flight. Been there, done that, enjoyed the heck out of it. But I might be rescheduling the golf trip. You know, really? Boon to the economy. Half of Rhode Island is going to be in Dublin with summer. That's okay. But beaches might be less empty, or more empty, as the case may be. Hey, speaking of flying, I don't know in our lifetimes or our grandkids' lifetimes or in their grandkids' lifetimes if we ever get close to one of these planets, but check out this headline. Front page of the New York Times, the Providence Journal, all of that today. This is fascinating. More evidence that there could be life described. Well, they have to do a lot more research. But these planets are close enough to this particular star to actually indicate that there could be. I was thinking about this today as I was thinking about the news and preparing for both the TV and the radio shows. There could be another Donald Trump out there. Sorry. Who knows? The answers are blowing in the wind and in the galaxy, and maybe in heaven, and maybe you get a bird's eye view. It's fascinating. We're going to do this show tomorrow night. We'll have experts on it. How can we resist? I know nothing about astrology, but I am mesmerized by it. I know a lot of you are too. All right. This headline out of North Providence in the Valley Breeze is just one reaction to this awful story out of Smithfield, where carbon monoxide detectors just weren't either working or in place. And when we come back, we will talk to a couple of pillars in our fire community here in Rhode Island to get some answers. Stay with us. You know, headlines like this just, just break your hearts, right? Oh, terrible. Here's almost all of the latest from Eyewitness News.
An update we never want to have to give. The fire chief tells us Kristen Latour has died after being in the hospital since last week when her home filled with carbon monoxide. A mother of 3 in Smithfield, dead after this tragic case of carbon monoxide poisoning. The fire department has ruled that a faulty heating system caused the Latour family's home on Pleasant View Avenue to fill with the deadly gas last Wednesday evening.
The family was unconscious in the house.
Firefighters pulling 3 children and their mother out of the home,
all of which were either unconscious or semi-conscious.
The children, ages 7, 9, and 11, were treated at Hasbro Children's Hospital and are now recovering. But mom Kristen Latour died at Fatima Hospital 4 days after she was brought in. Fire officials tell us there were no working CO detectors or smoke detectors in the home. They were taken down and the batteries removed. It was Kristen Latour's husband who found his wife and kids unresponsive. He had been working in the garage and therefore not affected by the gas many call the silent killer. Fire officials urging everyone to get carbon monoxide detectors in the wake of all this. The community has been coming together for the family ever since last week when we talked to Elena Donahue.
Great kids, great family, just, I mean, fantastic people all around.
The GoFundMe page she set up has now raised more than $34,000 for the Latour family.
All right, so that package ran a little while back. Chief Frank Brown is here, retired Chief Richard Susi is here. You guys, I mean, Frank, we've done this conversation before.
We have.
You must have saw this and went, oh, come on, really?
Yeah, not another one, very preventable.
Did you know the last time, what time, you know, I should have asked Lexi, the last time you were here was what, last year?
Last year, I was here.
Have we had a bunch of these since?
There's been a few. Certainly this one, you know, ended in a fatality, which is very sad.
It truly is the silent killer. And it is completely preventable.
In this particular case, and look, I'm not here to have you guys investigate this case, and actually we're just kind of picking up on some last minute news in the last 24 hours that updates this package. Reportedly there's some production of medical marijuana that was going on in the house that Dad might have been legally engaged with, but perhaps it was a code violation thing going on. Well,
that makes it that much more of an unfortunate, you know, sorry situation, but it doesn't change the fact that the basics of having a carbon monoxide detector, a working carbon monoxide detector, would have been all that would have been making the difference in this case. That's it.
Does that plant growth actually cause some CO problems? Do we know about that?
I don't believe it does.
No. Was it just a rewiring of the house, or just?
There was apparently, what they're talking about is apparently a hole that was made in the garage that pulled a draft out of the house and drew some of the fumes away from the flue or the chimney. Okay. This is what we're hearing. You know, we're not investigating that and
exactly.
Don't know the particulars, but that would certainly be a possibility.
Okay.
With CO, sometimes we've seen an inversion in a house where these houses are sealed up so tight nowadays with you know, thermal pane windows and the like, that you could be pushing so much exhaust and stuff out the chimney that you end up with a thermal inversion where the pressure is lower in the house and the gases would actually come back down into the house. So we've seen that.
Well, speaking of chimney, is the chimney a liability? It's dangerous if you're not well ventilated, correct?
You've got to be well ventilated, yeah.
Most people run their chimney. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it because I don't like the heat and I don't like the stink that comes along with it from time to time. We clean the chimney every year and never use it. But what do you do with the chimney to make sure that that's not a problem?
Yeah, once again, you were right on. I mean, as long as it's inspected, and normally if it just has regular combustion products in it, not a wood stove or a pellet stove, you know, if it's just a regular oil furnace or a gas furnace, I mean, they're relatively good. I mean, they don't require a lot of maintenance. It's when you start adding those other type of appliances that produce creosote and a lot of soot is where you end up with a problem.
All right, I want to get to more of the how-tos and what not to do's here before show end. Is this a regulatory thing? Is this a legal thing? What actually is the requirement?
Well, there are requirements for smoke and carbon monoxide detection in homes at the time of sale, and certainly in new construction. And that law is there. So the idea that this home did not have a working carbon monoxide detector and CO detector may not have been that it just may not have been sold recently. It obviously wasn't a brand new home, so maybe it hadn't been sold and hadn't had an inspection at the time of resale. But you know, there are so many misconceptions about who needs carbon monoxide detectors. You know, one person actually said to my wife, "Oh, I've got oil heat. I don't need a carbon monoxide detector. It doesn't produce carbon." Of course it does. Oil, gas, but you could have electric heat, and if you've got a garage that you store your car in and you may warm it up once in a while, you got a wind blowing back into the house when you're warming your car up, carbon monoxide right through the garage door into the house.
I think we might have talked about that before. By the way, even though it might be 8 degrees outside, that's not a good idea. Even with the garage door open.
That's correct.
That's just, people think because the garage door is open, you can, you got your electric car starter, you're in the kitchen, you say, okay, let me fire that sucker up and it'll be toasty when I get in it. That's a bad idea.
And we can talk about levels. Exhaust out of a car puts out about 10,000 parts per million CO. Very lethal dose of carbon monoxide. So, yeah, you got to back them out of the garage and get them away from the house.
You know, in fact, I pulled that stunt a few weeks back. You know, started the car up and then, oh, forgot something, blah, blah, and it's running. So it's running for maybe a minute, but I remembered our conversation. I'm thinking, oh my God, am I nuts? You know, you just can't do that.
Nope,
you just can't do that. You've got a detector with you.
I do.
They're pretty simple machines.
It's very simple, and this is purchased at a local retail store. $20, battery operated, good for 10 years. It can be mounted anywhere on the wall. It doesn't have to be high, doesn't have to be low. Carbon monoxide basically has the same buoyancy or same specific gravity as air. So yeah, outside sleeping areas, they should have one on every floor, but outside a sleeping area is predominantly where we like to see them.
And you got to check them. We'll talk about maintenance and all that kind of stuff. I got a funny story I think I've told before. Our local fire department, kind of familiar with the York household. Be right back. All right, so retired Chief Susi and Chief Brown are here in response to this, which should never have happened. It's just, right? So $20 for one. How many do you need in a house?
Should be one on every level.
All right, one on every level. And you were saying during the break that they have different beeping mechanisms, and so you can be alerted to certain different problems.
Yep. Once again, detectors will either say fire, 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 or carbon monoxide if they're a voice one. If not, the universal ones, 3 beeps is for a smoke detector, 4 beeps for a carbon monoxide in succession.
What else do we have to do to prevent, carbon monoxide from happening in the house?
I think we're being realistic. If someone did get carbon monoxide in their house and for some reason they didn't know it or their detector wasn't working, they should at least be aware that potentially if everybody in the house all of a sudden starts to feel, get a headache, symptoms of nausea, maybe they're starting to feel like they're getting some type of a bug. If it all happens at once, start to think that could be carbon monoxide and check your carbon monoxide detector, because unfortunately from what we've heard, that's what happened with this family. As a matter of fact, again, from what we've heard, I haven't investigated this,
sure.
But I've heard that they all stayed home because they felt ill, which is actually the
double
opposite
trouble.
of where they needed to be.
They needed to be out.
They needed to be out in the fresh air, and so I think people should make themselves, aware
even
of what
even
the
a
symptoms
food
are.
poisoning situation or a bug that's traveling through generally is I get it, then you get it, then you get it,
That's
as
right.
opposed to you feel like I do, yeah, I feel like you do. You feel like I do, yeah, I feel like you. And what that should be.
Everybody all of a sudden
boy.
gets a headache.
Yeah.
Think about that and be aware.
Well, the good news, if there is any, is that when you're conscious, you will see some symptoms that can make you aware. If you're sleeping,
well, I think we were
lights
talking
out.
about how it's read parts per million and how that a lethal dose from a car was like 10,000 parts per million. I think we've talked about before, anywhere between 35 and maybe 100 parts per million is where we start to have concern. The fire service starts to have concern if it's read on a meter that the fire department would bring into the home. And this family, they were in like the 700 parts per million range. That's how bad it had gotten. Obviously, a detector would have gone off way before this problem would have occurred.
What about keeping the windows open at night? That helps?
Once again, I think it goes
Even
back
if it's
to
freezing out?
I don't think so. I think it goes back to proper maintenance of those combustion products that you have in your home, that they're maintained correctly, right down to a dryer.
Furnace.
If it's a dryer, furnace,
Dryer.
gas dryer, gas hot water heater, gas stove, all those things need to be adjusted correctly and have a good flame and good combustion, and that'll eliminate carbon monoxide.
And and check your batteries. The story is I've had the Cumberland Fire Department at the house twice, and both both were embarrassing moments, and obviously I don't have good long-term memory because the first time it happened was about 7 years in front of the second time it happened, where they were going off, and I don't recognize the difference between a battery problem and a CO problem, so I got the family outside. Here come the engines, and that's a whole nother conversation. You guys come with the infantry.
Dan, you mentioned I was retired. You do remember I retired from Cumberland Hill, right?
Right,
Okay,
right. So are you aware that I've had 2 visits?
Oh, yeah, yes. Just thought I'd bring that up then.
So, well, you know I ain't fibbing about it. I've had 2 visits, not fires, but the guys come with everything. And the funny thing is that the second time was the exact same crew, it was at the exact same time at night. I don't know, the batteries went. So just check your batteries and know the difference in signals so you're not calling the fire department for no good reason. But on that, I know how you guys feel about this. Call the fire department.
Absolutely.
Don't try to outthink it. You don't have the expertise.
Yeah, correct. Call the fire department, leave the residence, but leave the house as it was when the alarm went off. Because we see people that what they'll do is they'll open the windows or keep the door open before we get there. We can't do a good investigation on the fire department side if now basically they've let it all out. So leave the house, keep the house in the condition it's in. The fire department will question the resident, okay, what did you have going on? What were you using and how long were you using it? Because we try to bring if the house was open, we try to bring the house back in the condition that it was at the time of the alarm so we can investigate. Okay, we narrowed it down to the furnace. So we say, keep it closed up, get out of the house, make your phone call, and let the fire department come in and do an investigation.
And they'll come in with their meter and read the parts per million that they're reading in certain areas of the house and figure out exactly where the problem is coming from, if at all possible.
So the moral of the story here, I mean, is obvious. Is there anything else we should know? Why does this feel so simple and still it gets away from people?
I think it's no different than having a working smoke detector. You know, we've seen tragedies, you know, recently where just you know, not having working smoke detectors in your house has caused a death. So working smoke detectors, working carbon monoxide detectors, and hopefully someday residential sprinklers will be the answer to saving a lot of lives.
It happens somewhat more infrequent than fires, so maybe fires are more in our face, where carbon monoxide incidents are more infrequent, very tragic when they occur.
And a silent killer.
And it's a silent killer. We see the fires, we don't think about the carbon monoxide as much, but the requirements are there, and it's simple, we know how to do it. We have a way to take care of this issue. We should just all make sure we have working carbon monoxide detectors along with our working smoke detectors.
Please, please, please. The thing is, you never know what tragedy you're preventing when you're doing the right thing.
Correct.
But you can figure out statistically, we're preventing a lot of tragedies.
We're preventing a lot of tragedies with the right equipment. When the right equipment's there, we can prevent these deaths.
All right, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Retired Chief, thank you. I forgot Chief Susi was, you know what? I'm getting old. I can't remember the batteries. I can't remember who was my chief. I'll try to remember to come back. Stay with us. Yesterday on the radio, I wondered out loud, who would get in line overnight in a tent to be able to get a year's worth of Chick-fil-A, as they did in Seekonk last night? Well, I just found out. Kevin would.
I would have.
You would have, Kev?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a bunch of Kevs out there getting ready for their Chick-fil-A.
Good stuff.
First 100. I gotta go get a sandwich. I like a little fried chicken every once in a while. God bless Alan Combs. He was a good guy. Good night.